Hi everyone, this is a video about positioning. So if you've got any issues with going wide or cutting corners or straight lining roundabouts, this video is for you because it's going to teach you about where to look and what to do and give you some tips and tricks about it. Now I have actually already recorded this video, but unfortunately I recorded it in vertical mode and I really can't transfer it without it being really weird and look bizarre. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of my voice out and I'm going to voice over on a drive that I make. Now the drive that I'm making is going to include nice bits of driving or like crossroads, turning right, and good positioning and stuff, so it will suit. It will also have the test routes in Cheltenham, or some of the test routes in Cheltenham, so if any of my students are watching this, or if any Cheltenham test takers are watching, then the test routes are also on this video. Alright guys, but predominantly this video is about positioning and what to do, where to look, and how to make your positioning immaculate. Alright guys, I really hope this helps you, and I'll see you on the next one. Hi guys, are you having positional problems when you're driving? Do you position slightly incorrectly, especially when you turn? Are you quite wide? Do you go really wide from the curb on a left turn, for example? Or when you turn right, is your point of turn extremely late? When you're driving down the road, are you kind of like wobbling a little bit? Or is your driving instructor asking you to come back to the left or things like that? So there's a couple of different things that I'm going to talk about. First of all, if you're driving with other people, so you've got an instructor and you've got an accompanying driver, it is highly likely that your accompanying driver in your private car thinks you're too close to the curb. Highly likely. I've done my job for 21 years, nearly 22. And if somebody's practicing in their own car, the parent or the accompanying driver always goes, oh, you're a bit close to the curb. Oh, you're a bit close to the cars. Oh, and actually sometimes it's just the perception of that person being sat there and they're a little bit worried and they push you away, and then they give you a very, very right position in the road. So when you go back to your driving instructor, they say, oh, you're very close to the right. You need to come back to the left. So a reference point that you can use is make your steering wheel appear to be in the center of the lane. Now this is a guide that you can use a little bit, okay? It is so much better for you to look extremely far ahead. All right, but if you really, really need to have a reference point, your steering wheel should be in the center of the available space that you have. So if you've got a curb and a white line, your steering wheel should look in the center. I feel a little bit worried about giving you that reference point because it brings your attention quite close and you're not looking far ahead, which is a disaster. You need to look really far ahead. So if you're looking far ahead, that your eye catches movement and then you look at the hazards. So if you are going to use the reference point that I've just given you, it should be just a flash check. So you're driving, looking really far ahead, and then you flash check to see if your steering wheel is in the center of the lane. Okay, really important. When you're turning corners, a left or right, and you're wide for any particular reason, again, it's probably because you aren't looking in the right place. You probably are not looking far enough ahead. You're probably looking down at the floor, which is affecting your position massively. It could be a speed problem. If you're going too fast, position normally suffers instantaneously. Make sure that you're walking around the corners, walking around the hazard, and that will help you immensely. But you do need to look far ahead as well. For example, if you're straight lining roundabouts, not keeping to the left, if you're going straight on at a normal 12 o'clock rule roundabout, it's probably because you're going too fast. Make sure your speed's right. Look really nice and far ahead. Now, I'm painting my bathroom at the moment, and seeing the dog on the Dulux paint tin has made me make this video this morning, because when me and my student years ago were learning how to turn right, one of those dogs, one of those beautiful dogs, was at the side of the road. We were turning main road to side road on the right. Main road to side road, you've got to give way to oncoming people, and then you turn in with the white line. You use that as a reference point and you turn just before it, depending on your speed, but that's by the by. But the dog with its owner was stood at the side of the road looking at us, ready to cross the road. Now, this is years ago, so she didn't have priority then. So we were allowed to turn, ignoring her, right? So at the time, that's not lawful now. We would have to give way to the person with the dog, which probably would have been much safer with this story. But because the dog was so mesmerizingly beautiful, I've never seen one in real life, I've only seen it on the advert, this big, fluffy, huge, like almost as big as the owner, just sat there looking perfect. And like me and my student were just mesmerized by it. Mesmerized. And we were turning and we were both looking at the dog, and guess what, we went straight for the dog, because you basically drive towards what you're looking at, right? Now don't worry, no animals were hurt in this video. It was fine, but I had to take control, you know, and the pedestrian was fine, the dog was fine, no one was really scared, but I could see that our position was going off, and we turned the corner successfully in the end. But I did find it really funny, because whatever you look at, you drive towards. And that's why I always say to my students, look as far ahead as possible, look as far ahead as possible. Now I know that I've given you this reference point of steering wheel in the centre of the lane, which is useful, but it must just be a flash check. If you're checking that all the time, you are literally going to become blind to the other hazards around you. I have made another video to that where I do like a little exercise where you have to look at your finger. I'll link that in the description below so you can see that, and you can do the little exercise and you can see what I'm talking about. But if you look down at a certain point, you become blind to everything else. Your eye can only see a very small amount of like actual information, and then your brain makes up the rest and it just misses out information. So when we were looking at that dog, we beelined towards the dog. I've had people like driving down the road and there's some nice graffiti, and they look up at the graffiti and we go towards the graffiti. In meeting traffic situations, when there's parked cars on the left, if the student was to look at the oncoming person for too long, they need to look at it for a moment and their eye will be attracted to the movement anyway. But if the person looks at the car for too long, two things are either going to happen. They're either going to drive towards the car, which is more rare, but it does happen. I'd give it like a 2 out of 10 that a student will do that. Or the student will look at the car and be like, oh, there's a car, and move to the left as they look at the car. Because they're not looking far ahead where they want to go, they nearly hit all the parked cars, which is an extremely common fault to happen. So when you are in those situations, you need to look far ahead. You need to look at the gap. I'm constantly saying to my students, look at the gap, look at the gap. Yeah. Don't look at the car for too long. You'll be driving down the road and the red car will come, and of course your eye will look at the red car because it's moving. You can't, if I tried to tell you not to look at the red car, that's impossible. I'm not stupid. Your eye is gravitated towards seeing the movement. That's why you see birds swooping down and people pulling out of junctions too quickly. That's why you slag people off for driving too fast, because they go quickly and you go, oh my God, that guy's going too fast, you know. So when the person's coming towards you, you can go, yes, there's a red car. Yes, he looks like safe enough in his position. Now I'm going to look at where I'm going, look at my gap, and I'm going to see whether I can fit through the gap. If at that point when you look at the gap, you think to yourself, oh, I don't know if I can fit through the gap. If you don't know, don't go. You should be stopping straight away. So the point of this video is, you need to look where you want to go, especially when you're turning. When you're turning, try not to bring your observations too close to the car and looking down. Look down the road, look very, very far ahead. If you're turning left, utilize the left window, not just the front one. Utilize the left window and look through and see where your destination is. If you're turning right, utilize the right window as well as the oncoming vehicle, windscreen, as well as the windscreen at the front, and utilize the one on the right. So you're teaming up all of the glass in the car to be able to see where you're going and look really far ahead. If possible, look to the furthest point of the road, which is called the limit point. Try and look at the limit point. The rotation of your eyes should be far, middle, near. Far, middle, near. If you look far, you don't have to worry about middle, near so much, because your eyes will be attracted to the movement anyway. So if you look far and a bird comes down, you'll look at the bird momentarily. If you look far ahead and there's a car that's coming too quickly, you'll momentarily look at the car. If you look far ahead, you're going to see like a pedestrian moving on the left or starting to run on the left, or a movement of a parked car. It's very important that you look far ahead. so your position is good. All right, guys, that is what I've got for you today. I hope this helps you, and I'll see you on the next one.